All right, let's get straight into it now. Joining me is Liberal Senator Dave Sharma. Senator, nice to catch up with you. Thanks so much for joining me on the show. Let's start with this latest news poll. As I said, the Liberal Party's primary vote has hit 29. That's the worst result since 1985. I've got to ask you, how much is this the Liberal Party needing to figure out who it is and what it stands for? Because right now it feels like voters don't know where you stand on key issues like nuclear and net zero. What do you put it down to?
Well, look, I think we know who we are and what we stand for. You know, we stand for individuals, we stand for their right to get ahead, we stand for businesses, we stand for entrepreneurs, we stand for social mobility, we stand for smaller government and responsible economic management. But I think what we didn't do successfully at the last election, self-evidently, and what we need to do is to translate those values, which to my mind are timeless and enduring, into policies that appeal to the pressure points, the pain points, the frustrations, the priorities and concerns of everyday Australians. And look, that is a work in progress. No news poll is not good. Not that we're expecting to see a bump. I mean, it's natural when a government is elected that their support tends to rise in the months after the election as the public gives them a chance or looks at them anew. But I would say that I don't think Labor has, yes, they have a large numerical majority in their House of Representatives, but I don't think you should overinterpret the result as a sweeping mandate or endorsement for their style of governing. I think there's still significant reservations amongst the public about how they are managing the country.
Well, I think it was reflected in both parties. I mean, it showed in the news poll that the independents were holding quite steady, Senator. So really, it is almost a reflection on both major parties. How do you see this playing out moving forward then?
Look, it's, I think two-party systems are under strain throughout the world, or, throughout Westminster parliamentary democracy systems like ours. And in some ways, it's a reflective of kind of consumer and cultural attitudes where people no longer want to choose between one of two major brands. They want a highly differentiated product that suits their particular tastes, desires, social strata and everything else. And the independents and the minor parties have been a beneficiary of that trend. I don't think it's good for the governance of Australia. I think a parliament with a large number of independents or non-aligned parties makes governance more difficult and ultimately means the country is run in a poorer shape. But ultimately, look, these are the things that the public will need to, recognise and learn for themselves and decide what they think is the best way to run the country.
All right, let's talk about Anthony Albanese. I've got to say, listening to his address to caucus today, I was quite stunned. He said that there was no reason why Labor could not hold its huge majority at the next election and grow its numbers. Here he was today. Have a listen.
Whether you're one of the 24 new Labor members of the House of Representatives or one of the 7 new Labor senators, take a moment to really think about the significance of it. There is no reason why every single one of you can't just be returned to the next parliament, but can't be added to as well.
Oh, geez, Senator, it's only day one. He's got a thumping majority as it is. He can get anything through the Senate with the help of the Greens and reckons he can grow the numbers. What do you think?
Well, look, I think there's always a danger, and this is true of all sides of politics, of hubris or arrogance setting in or of over-interpreting the mandate the public has given you. It's our job as an opposition to make sure that we are a credible opposition, that we hold the government to account for their promises and for their failings as well, and that we present ourselves as a credible alternative. And I'm confident that if we do that, and I have no doubt that we will do that, then politics will inevitably become, as it usually is in Australia, a highly competitive field.
Yeah, look, absolutely. But as you said, I do agree with you there, this hubris and arrogance, and it's only day one of the first parliamentary sitting term, so I'm sure we're in for a very, very long parliament. Now, I want to ask you about former Prime Minister Malcom Turnbull. He has defended Anthony Albanese's 6-day China trip, saying it was absolutely the right thing for him to do. This is what he said.
It was absolutely the right thing for him to do, to go to China, and I think the visit to the Great Wall and going further afield out of Beijing and Shanghai was very good. I mean, if I'd had more time when I had a similar official visit in 2016, I would have done the same thing. So it makes perfect sense.
What do you make of Malcolm Turnbull's intervention here?
Oh, look, obviously, he's a former Prime Minister. He's free to make those comments. I don't disagree that it was a positive thing for Anthony Albanese to visit China. I mean, they are an important economic and trading partner. But where I have concerns, he spent 6 days in China. He didn't visit Japan or South Korea, two very important trading, commercial and strategic partners. A difference there with China. He hasn't yet met the new US president, despite that being our most important defence, intelligence and security relationship. And the way Chinese state media has portrayed this visit has been effectively, Anthony Albanese has come as a supplicant to the great leader of China. And this is how Western countries need to behave if they want to, curry our favour or win over our graces. And I think that was always a risk with a trip of this length and with this sort of choreography. And I think Anthony Albanese should have been more alive to that risk.
Well, he's still got a lot of questions to answer, when it comes to the Port of Darwin, when it comes to the live fire drills, what was actually discussed over there. You're calling him a supplicant to China. Last week, Senator James Paterson said that he was indulgent. What do you think he actually achieved during those 6 days?
Well, it's not clear because Anthony Albanese hasn't really come back and said, this is what I've achieved for Australia. I mean, we saw him briefing out today that he was going to lay down some red lines for his meeting with the Trump administration. I would have expected him to be equally clear and direct and forceful in his meetings with China's leadership. But he hasn't come back and told us, we're going to get market access for blueberries, for instance. Has he obtained assurances about the activities of the PLA Navy in our coastal waterways? Has he obtained assurances about the actions of the People's Liberation Army when they're engaging with our Defence Force personnel in international waterways and international airspace? All of these things, the fate of Australians being held in prisons in China, all of these things I think are in important national interests that we expect an Anthony Albanese to prosecute. But he's been largely silent on what has been achieved, other than a whole lot of atmospherics and good sentiment and warm relations. That's all good. I don't discount the importance of that, but that should be a means to an end. It's not an end in itself.
No, well, I mean, he spent a lot of time at the Great Wall, at the Panda Park. The photos to come out of it, you just wonder what on earth he was doing there. So I look forward to hearing the coalition pushing that during the week in question time.